So a couple more projects out of our shop that maybe a little unique. Our mill, we'll just take a look at this. So we have a couple of grain bins out here. We actually still use the ear corn, works well for the cattle that we're feeding. And we do some hogs. Actually, here's a hog feeder built out of an old grain bin. So a self-feeding hog feeder. Quick, simple project, but quite handy. And we'll go inside. So there's a reason why you don't see anybody using ear corn anymore. And probably the biggest thing, it's not easy to handle, but again, it works well for us. We have a couple of cribs here, and then we can refill these from up above with outside cribs. But anyways, what we have here is a pit and an elevator runs into the pit. The cribs empty into there. We can back wagon loads in, empty those in, and then the augers from the bins will all empty into the same elevator, which then will move everything up into the grinder mixer. So just a common New Holland 355 grinder mixer. What's different here is you can see it's stationary mounted. We just tractor stays hooked to it until we need the tractor, and then we can pull that out. But the elevator feeds into the front part of it. The protein tank around the back that'll feed in here. We can add whatever else we need. We got the liquid molasses, the energy balancer feed that just hitting the switch pumps up in there. You can watch the scale to keep the ingredients right, and then the auger discharges up to the feed tank, which we'll look at in a minute, or we can bypass it and run to the overhead auger to take it out if we're selling feed, where we might put a big tote bag under it, or a feed auger bin that mounts on forks that I'll show you later, fits under there. So once the feed is discharged from the grinder mixer, here's a stationary bin that I had built out of just angle iron and 1/8-inch sheet steel, and then just use some galvanized roofing above for the vertical part. Holds a couple ton of feed. Able to just mount an auger in there and able to discharge it into the bunk. You can use multiple augers to fill the bunks here, so that works well. We rely on barn cats for rodent control, but we do have to feed them. And so what do you do with cat food in a barn, keeping it safe? And here's an old igloo cooler that I think I figured out this thing has been opened and closed some 15,000 times, and it's crazy the things you can find to reuse. And, so the built-in cat feeding station. So here you can see the overhead elevator coming in. It also can switch a baffle to discharge out the front if we're loading a wagon. You can unload the wagon back into here. We got the protein tank comes up here, and you can see the molasses tube there. So. We're never caught up on work, so anytime we can build something that saves us some time and labor, it's time well spent. So this is used, it'll go under our auger that feeds the grain out of the grinder mixer when we divert it away from the feed tank, and we'll use it to fill, say, the pig feeder, or to go to the different barns where we might have some young cattle, and filling smaller bins there. So we built it out of the base of it was an old cake feeder that you would see on the back of a flatbed truck, maybe out west, where they had a little auger and they would discharge the cake to the cattle on pasture. But we opened it up, extended it, used the doors to make it make the top part of here actually a piece of a pre-stall, and then some old grain elevator flighting. Construct this auger that we can reach into a feeder or actually into a window and fill bins. And so the auger extends to the back, and then we've got just a simple hydraulic orbit motor mounted on the back to power it. And then we'll just plug it into either the telehandler or the front end loader, and just using the hydraulic to run it. Very simple. We're always having to make adapters for different things. Here's a good, handy little example of an adapter that you have to go from pioneer couplings that are common on the farm equipment to when you go into more of the industrial, where you have the street fittings, as they're called. So just always having adapters around so we can quickly switch to whatever equipment we might be